Doing well. Thanks for coming on. I'm curious what you make of the Big 12 football race after an unprecedented year where Utah and Oklahoma State were supposed to be at the top and they ended up at the bottom, and ASU and BYU and Colorado were supposed to be at the bottom and they ended up at the top. Seems like a crazy league to try and make predictions in, but what do you think?
I think that they were so good at turning this thing upside down that they didn't even let us vote as media on who we think would win it, because we had Arizona dead last. Arizona won the Big 12 championship, and all of a sudden, that was one of the reasons why they only got one team in. Aside from that, look, man, I could see 12, even 14 teams in this 16-team league winning this conference championship, and all of the coaches know it too. One of the really cool quotes that we got at Big 12 Media Days came from Deion Sanders, in which he said, look, everybody in this league is probably going to catch 2 losses from each other. That's how thick it is. That's how good we are. And he's right. Like, I get down to Central Florida and Scott Frost and even Rich Rod in West Virginia. I'm like, I really don't know. But Willie Fritz is tough out at Houston with Connor Wigman's got a 5-star quarterback. I'm very curious, though, to find out just how much of this offense at Utah is going to change with Jason Beck and Devin Dampier, because the offense they ran in New Mexico does not look a damn thing like the offense they've been running at Utah for the past 20 years. So I want to see if they're going to put up some points. And if they put up some points, they're going to be pretty good. At the top of this thing, I really think that we're talking about Farmageddon being a good indicator of who I think is going to lead the Big 12 race into 2025. And if things go right, I would not be shocked to find out that we get Farmageddon again. That'd be Iowa State and Kansas State playing for the Big 12 championship. I really like Avery Johnson. I really like Matt Campbell. I really like Rocco Beck. I really like Chris Kleiman. I think they've got the kind of teams that are ready to make that leap. You see Iowa State getting that thing last year. You've seen Kansas State knock off an undefeated Texas Christian that ends up playing in the national championship. I think they're about due. But I'm only comfortable saying there are about 2 teams that can win in this league.
You went ahead, RJ, and ranked every team 1 to 136. The highest team you had in the Big 12 was Kansas State at 19. And you already spoke about Utah. Obviously, if they get some points out of that offense, which absolutely you are correct, it's nothing like we've seen literally for the last 2 decades. They have an opportunity to be good, but I'm curious as to why you put them ranked at number 56, and then down the road you had BYU at 60.
Because they sucked last year. They were not a Kyle Whittingham team last year. I'm not proud of saying that, but that's what it was. I couldn't trust them to throw the football. I couldn't trust them to run the football. And then later I couldn't trust them to stop people. I've never seen a Kyle Whittingham team so out of sorts. So much so that the man basically says, I'm coming back this year because I can't go out like I did last year. All right? I need to see that flipped and turned around. And I'm not going to bet on Devin Dampier and Jason Beck to turn this thing around by themselves. I'm also, once again, I'm big on this. I'm huge on this. Your program takes on the identity of its head coach. Kyle Whittingham is one of the toughest some guns walking around. That didn't feel like who Utah was last year. And if that's who they are this year, I'm not sure how the offenses are going to mesh, because it has never been the kind of program that is comfortable throwing the football all up and down the yard for one reason. It's not because it's not efficient. It's not because it doesn't score points. It's because ball control and moving people against their will is youth football. I think that's going to need to change for them to play at a high level. So I got him in the top 60. BYU was a top 25 team, and then they lost this guy named Jake Retzloff, who, threw for about 2,900 yards, 20 TDs, 12 TDs, 12 INTs. They won 11 games. They beat a really good Colorado team. They finished tied atop the Big 12. You tell me that you got a quarterback that's as good as Jake Retzloff was last year right now on the BYU depth chart, and I'll tell you, you got a top 25 team, because that defense is stout. I mean, Kalani Sitake put out a team that people talked about the quarterback. They talked about O.J. Martin. They talked about Chase Roberts. They should have been talking about keeping a lid on the end zone, because that's what they did so well. The thing that impressed me most about the Alamo Bowl game is not that Colorado lost it. It's that BYU ran up and down on them and then refused to let the Heisman winner and the Big 12 Offensive Player of the Year operate. Nobody else has been able to do that short of Nebraska. Everybody else, they've been able to move the football on. They've been run on. They didn't have a great defense. But if BYU's got a quarterback that's as good as they had last year, let's talk about a top 25 team. Until then, they're 60.
We're joined right now by R.J. Young, National College Football Analyst for Fox Sports. There are a lot of quarterbacks getting a lot of hype and a lot of respect, justifiably so, considering what some of them have done prior to this. But are there one or two that stand out to you?
Across the nation? Is that what you're asking?
No, across the Big 12.
Across the Big 12. Yes. One in particular. I can't wait to see Jalen Daniels play injury-free football at Kansas. Like, I really want to see him play an entire season of football like he played the last 6 games at Kansas. He's dynamic. He can move around. He can read high-low. He is outstanding at getting on the same page with his wide receivers, and he is going to try to throw it deep if it is there to throw it deep because he thinks he's got guys that are better than you. I think that's another guy that can leap back into the Heisman conversation like he did a couple of years ago. The other guy that I think is really, really cool to watch play football is Deion Sanders of Colorado. I think Big 12 fans are going to get a dose of, there's actually more than one Avery Johnson running around out here. And this one has come up the hard way. He's got a really great story. Starts out at Tennessee, is a knucklehead, gets kicked off the team, shows up at Liberty, who hadn't done much of anything. And then with Jamie Chadwell, they turn into the kind of team that can go play in a New Year's Six Bowl against an Oregon team. Now, they got smashed, but they were undefeated going into that. I think you're going to see a dynamic passer. I think you're going to see a dynamic runner. And I think that's what the league is going to be about. It's going to be about that guy who can be +1 in your run game and the guy that can make a play when the play is broken down. I realize there's going to be lots of nice things that are said about Sam Levitt. I've said some nice things about Devin Dampier. But those two guys in particular, Deion Sanders and Jalen Daniels, I'm really excited to see what they're capable of doing at 25.
At the ACC meetings, there were some people saying that they felt that they were the third best conference, obviously behind the SEC and the Big Ten. How would you rank the 4?
SEC at 1, Big Ten at 2, ACC at 3, and Big 12 at 4. There's a reason for this. How many national champions do we have out of the SEC in the college football playoff era? More than the other 3. Same thing is true of the Big Ten. And then the same thing is true of the ACC, which really gets to hang its hat on Clemson and Florida State. You show me the national championship team in the Big 12. That's what we're talking about here. I don't really care to talk about the depth of the league. I don't really care to talk about 18 versus 16. I don't really care to talk about Heisman Trophy winners because I'm from Oklahoma. We know what that is. We also know what it means not to win a national championship since 2000. And that is the standard. Let's not get lost here, right? Let's not talk about making the playoff as if it's winning the national championship. It's not. I need a Big 12 that is good enough to play in that game and win it. That's what I want. So if the Big 12 wants to get to 3 or 2 or 1, start winning some national championships. And you can do that by getting just one team in. I realize you want more roles, you want more opportunities, you want more chances, so you want 3-4 teams to get in this thing, but it only takes 1. Now do that 4 times in a row, and we don't need to have this discussion. We will know that the Big 12 is the best conference in the nation. But that just doesn't feel likely, and history has not shown anything has changed.
I get it that Clemson was a top 5 team 6 years in a row and won a couple titles, but they haven't been that as the NIL and the transfer portal has changed the game. So I get why you want to say, well, they won national titles, and they have in the last decade. But the sport's changed so dramatically, and in this new era, Dabo's looked unwilling to change. Do you think he's going to change? Do you think they're going to get back? Are they going to live on those titles and that run in the 20 teens?
I think the Big 12 had Texas and Oklahoma during the same time that Clemson won those national championships. And nobody told me that Texas or Oklahoma wasn't any good, right? I think that when we're talking about Clemson, we need to be talking about Georgia because that's the kind of company that Dabo Swinney was keeping. It was a sleeping giant that he turned into a monster. Everybody said the same thing about Georgia. They're going to win 9 games, but are they ever going to be good enough to win a national championship? And now that is the king of the SEC. It's their league. They went back-to-back with national championships. I don't think about living on the past because that's exactly what we do. That's why we have blue bloods. That's why we have teams that others watch more than they watch some. I'm going to give you every bit of the credit you deserve and have earned for winning a national championship in the 2020s, in the 2010s. I'm going to reject the future because I don't know what it's going to hold. Hell, we didn't think that the Big 12 would be around, and it was the Pac-12 that folded. So for now, Dabo gets the benefit of the doubt because not only has he shown he can win a national championship, not for nothing, that team bulldozed their way into the playoff last year. They saw an open door that Syracuse gave them, and they crashed it. They kicked the crap out of a team that had not lost a game against an ACC team all year, and then they showed up, and they gave everybody what they wanted, a good Clemson team showing up to play ball. Yeah, I don't think he's living off of much. I think that Dabo is one of the best football coaches the sport's ever seen. Given what he had to do to get that program to where it is, we're having this discussion.
Speaking of trying to project the future, money matters, right? And we just saw Kansas get a $300 million donation. Texas Tech has spent a lot on its transfer class, and it looks like they're in it and they're going to play the game literally and pay the game. BYU has come to the table willing to offer up necessary money. We'll see what other schools do. How much do you think that these schools can maybe make more of an impact, because it seems like several of them are willing to pony up the cash that is needed?
I think if you got the new money and you're willing to spend it, you can make a dent. I think David Booth giving $300 million to Kansas saying, hey, guys, go do what you have to do is indicative of that. I think that Cody Campbell, who sold his $4 billion oil company, and then the next breath says Texas Tech football is about to get a lot better. Yeah, go do what you got to do, big dog, because that is what college football has been for years. If you got more money than folks and you're willing to spend it, you can go get that championship. It was, we're giving Brown envelopes underneath the table. Now, that's $10.99, taxable income, right? I'm fine with it either way because the teams that want to win, the teams that have made winning a priority, they're going to do well. And if they got the money to do it, they should go ahead and spend it. Now, if you don't have it, that sucks. But maybe this big boy football isn't for you. And let's not also forget, I should say, Memphis tried to do this. Memphis wanted into the Big 12, and they said, hey, let us in for nothing. Plus, here's $200 million in value that we're bringing to the table. We just want to play Big 12 football. And the Big 12 thumbed its nose at Memphis, who's got a lot of money behind them. So money alone isn't necessarily getting it done. What's getting it done is money, and you have a Power 4 label behind you. Like, not for nothing, Southern Methodist does not make the college football playoff if they don't play in the ACC last year. And that's a gamble they took. They ate the television costs. They're not getting any of that television revenue money. But they do have billionaire backers that have decided, no, it's worth it. We will make you whole because we understand the optics are if you don't play Power 4 football, it's going to be really, really difficult to get into the college football playoff. And that is going to raise the level of exposure for your program. And that is going to invite more recruits through your door. And that's going to make you a better football team. The money becomes a side effect once you get in, right? I don't think there is a program in the Power 4 without millionaires and billionaires willing to give them the money to do what they got to go do. My favorite example of this is Indiana. Indiana was nowhere. It was nobody. Nobody cared about Indiana football, including Indiana fans. And then Kurt Signetti said, I win. Went out and won. And now all of a sudden, they're flush. They're getting what they need to go compete at a high level. Give people a reason to give you their money, and it's not a sunk cost. They're just going to do it because they want to win. So, yeah, I think money's going to play into it. But I also think you got to have fans that are willing to back you all the way, and that means their financial donations probably go up.
We're joined right now by R.J. Young, National College Football Analyst for Fox Sports. Arch Manning has the famous last name. He's been willing to sit when everybody else wants to play right away. He's been willing to stay put when it seems like every other quarterback transfers, unless they transfer twice and play at 3 schools. Do you think that's all going to pay off for him individually and for Texas as a team?
I don't see how it couldn't. It's also a privileged position to be in. I'm always very careful about this. Arch Manning doesn't have to transfer. Arch Manning never needed to transfer. Arch Manning didn't have to play college football to get his education. He was always going to be okay. So he got to say, I'm going to take my time in recruiting, and I always wanted to play at Texas, so he played with Texas. When he said, I'm not in a hurry, I believed him. And he showed that. He went right behind Quinn Ewers. Quinn Ewers gets hurt, goes in, he plays, and then Steve Sarkisian comes out, says Quinn Ewers is our starting quarterback 2024, and he sits back down. But let's not treat Arch Manning like, say, Bear Alexander, who has transferred 3 times to 3 different schools, USC, Georgia, and now Oregon. If you are first generation, second generation, going to college, and you don't have generational wealth, and you don't have a trust fund, and you have nothing to go fall back on, I tell the kiddos this all the time. You got to make a business decision when you're 19. I know that you're not making a lot, or I should say, I know that you don't want to make these big, hard decisions, but you have to. So what is important to you? Is it important to you that you play football? Is it important to you that you get an education? Or is it important to you that you make enough money to put it back somewhere that when you know you're going to stop playing football, you can change the trajectory of your life and your family's life? Let's not confuse that with Arch Manning, who's got a really great opportunity to go win a national championship as the nephew of 2 Super Bowl winning quarterbacks and the grandson of one of the most sainted quarterbacks in the state of Louisiana. I'm not going to pretend those are the same. I think when Arch is playing, he's going to be great. I think with Ryan Wingo, DeAndre Moore, who said he wants to be the best Texas wide receiver who has ever lived, he's going to have options. C.J. Baxter gets back. The continuity is there, right? On the football field, they're going to go win. But let's also remember his last name is Manning. He does have all of these traits that you want, 6'4", 220, fast, big arm. But he also only has to think about playing football. He doesn't have to think about anything else. So much so that my man has lost his student ID twice. We lose our driver's license, we're cooked. We're done. Nobody's trying to find us. But he's okay. He's good. I want him to go be great. I want him to go do well. But I'm not going to pretend that he's under the same pressure as some of the other players that hit the transfer portal.
I think it was a couple of years ago, RJ. I think it was you. If it wasn't, correct me. But you had to sit down with Kyle Whittingham, and you asked him about the rivalry, and he said which rival, and you called him on it. Was that you?
Yeah, that was me.
Congratulations on that.
Hey, look, man, I'm a neutral here. I'm not from here, but even I know. That's holy war. What are you talking about? Come on,
exactly.
Man. Get out of here.
Good work.
Thanks, guys. Thanks.
RJ, we'll leave it right there. PK, he hands out compliments like manhole covers, so, pocket that one and enjoy it.
I will do just that. Thanks so much for having me on, guys. We'll talk to you soon.